A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel, guys. Do not forget to subscribe. So in today's video, we're going to be seeing how we can improve our paintwork on this car with traditional kind of polishing methods. And probably what you can't see with this lens on this thing, unfortunately, is the condition too well, but you can see it's got a little bit of that surface spotting, that filmy stuff, and some swirls that are probably worse than I can show you on camera. So I'm going to be using kind of like traditional products rather than like pure abrasives like cutting compound and finishing polishes. So you could say these are kind of more like car enthusiast kind of buff by hand and see what you get type products. Now, these two products here, this is actually the Bilt Hamber Auto Polish. I've recanted it into this bottle because I had the metal bottle one. So this is like a primer polish, glaze, you know, you buff it onto the paintwork, a filler maybe. It's like a resinous thing, and you buff it onto the paintwork, it improves the paintwork, it sets and hazes up. You wipe it down and it leaves like a film which makes a good primer for a paste wax. And we've got the Bilt Hamber double speed paste wax, which is a durable kind of hydrophobic paste wax that cures really hard. I'm guessing that combo there can do a pretty good job of tidying up the panel, and I reckon giving me like 3 to 6 months worth of protection, maybe. We've got that cleanser fluid, which is like a hydrocarbon panel wipe, which we can use to just wipe down the panels first. Now over here, that's a liquid wax. You could replace double speed with the liquid wax. So that's a bit like extra gloss protection from Auto Glim, and that's a bit like ultra high definition wax, paste wax versus liquid wax. That's a bit easier to lay out, but I don't know, I sort of prefer paste waxes to solvent based liquid waxes. Don't know why. Just feel like it's a nicer thing to have. Don't know. And over here is the product that's never ever really spoken about, which is an abrasive paint conditioner. I think it's a wax as well, isn't it? But it's a polish essentially with some protection in it. So I think it does everything. I should really read it down the bottom there. Detergent proof deep gloss film. Detergent proof deep gloss film. That's interesting, isn't it? I'd imagine it's wax based. Now it's getting colder. These in the winter, these can go solid, and you really need to get them a little bit warm and shake them. So you could, before you use them, you can sort of shake them all up and they're all nicely liquid. That's just something important, because you want it all mixed properly with these products. So we just give those a good shake. And of course you've got that quick detailer, which you could just use to help you kind of buff and, you know, on future washes as a quick detail. You get the idea there. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just take our cleanser fluid, and we'll just, because I've got one hand while I'm filming, we'll what we'll do is we'll just wipe over this panel. See that film of cleanser fluid there? That will just degrease the panel and make sure any sort of greasy films are off of it. And panel wipe is like a hydrocarbon. I think it's 100% volatile, so it's now vaping off of the panel, if you like, and it won't leave anything behind. So it's a bit like a hydrocarbon degreaser. It's very useful stuff, actually, because it does some things that water-based panel wipes can't do, but then it's a bit more solvent even. Sounds pretty obvious than your water-based kind of panel wipes. Now, what I'm doing here, if I just put that tape line down, I think it'd be useful to see to what level or what extent. So we're just waiting for that. So it's broken something down. It's probably some old waxes and God knows what on this panel. Let's just go with the dry side and just tidy that up. Yeah, old waxes or films of protection. There'll be something on there. Now, let's just do, this isn't really a review, but let's just do the review bit. I think that's $16.95, really good value for a wax. I think this cleanser polish I think it's $16.95, which is decent value. It's about where it needs to be. It's roughly in line with Paul Boy's Black Hole, which is about the same price. So that's a decent price. I think both of these are $25.99. Yeah, and I think Hydra Wax is comparatively expensive to something like Extra Gloss Protection. That's unusual because normally it's usually a little bit cheaper, all this stuff. So these two products could both be $16.95, and then I think that would make their range of these bottle protection products a little bit more consistent, and perhaps make these two products a little bit more desirable on the wallet. Potentially, that's my thoughts. So you're also supposed to lay these out really by hand and let them cure up and buff. But I just want to use it how I would use it in this particular video. Like I said, we've reviewed these before. So I'm using a Show Concepts orange pad, which is a good, you know, these are good quality pads. I'm not too keen on those cross hatches. I've got an aftermarket cap on this, aftermarket, but I think that's probably what they use with their bottles now, so I don't need that. Now this product does come out thin, so that's one thing. You know, when you use like Black Hole, it comes out like an emulsion, so it's like a cream. This one's not too bad actually. In summer that'll be thinner than that. Because our pad is dry, we're just going to go with 5 dots. That's not a lot of product. And we're just going to work it and see what we can do. And I think always with these waxy type products, let's just set our camera up so you've got a consistent view and I'm not messing around. I think with these waxy type products, you generally want to stay away from trim and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to put this down. This camera tripod will probably go flying around. I'll bring you back in when we've finished. I'm really interested in the level of improvement that we get on the panel from this cleanser polish. Right, is that going to play ball and stay there? Hope so. Yeah, really interested in that level of improvement. I'm just dabbing it out a bit. And I'm going to just work it a little bit on low speed, probably about speed 3, something like that. I'll go over the trim as well. So I'm going to polish on top of the trim and put some of it on there. It's a nice thin thing. It doesn't feel, well, it probably isn't heavily abrasive. It's just kind of thin. I just want to kind of show you. It's kind of, what that's like. So what we'll do is we'll just come back here. This camera's going to struggle to focus. We're just going to leave that now to obtain a full haze. And then I want to see the improvement from just that quick set. You know, I'm not going to do like your 4-pass paint correction thing. The machine has worked that polish more than you would work it by hand because it's going bananas. What I've just done there would take like 5-10 minutes of hand buffing to work. So we should have given that should have some good working time. We've got a nice thin film. We'll come back in 10 minutes and see the improvement on the panel. Okay guys, so I'm back. This has had 10 minutes to haze off. Let's just turn that light back on. I've put some on the trims, like I said, and that's starting to whiten off. Do you want to see how difficult that is to wipe off once that starts to dry? Once you start seeing it sort of white up a little bit, you know you're pretty much there. So I've done the rest of that quarter section as well. So let's buff and see what's going on. So we've got a clean microfiber towel. And let's just get some light over here so we can see it. See what it's like. Where's that light? Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm going to block the light a little bit, but it's just part of it. Yeah, so it buffs nice. It's not grippy, it's slidey, which is nice. Let's see what this buffing this trim off is like. Yeah, it seems to come off the trim okay. Maybe if you left it longer, you might need a little bit of cleanser fluid on there and like to kind of clean it down. So that's probably the resin there that's dried on the trim. But it's it leaves the panel feeling nice and polished. It hasn't taken all the scratches out, what we've done. But we'll have a look at one side and compare it to the other side. Very nice to buff though. Yeah, nice, easy buff. No sort of, that white powder, the more you go around the car, so like if you're doing an entire car, it'll build up and eventually it gets to that point where it starts falling out the microfiber. A bit like when you're using super resin polish, so just flipping your towel out, shaking it, or swapping towels can always fix that. And I can see that it hasn't fixed like deeper swirls. You're probably not seeing. There's little marks in here, so it's not like a paint correction tool. I'm seeing stuff that I can't show you on camera. On camera, it's looking flawless. It isn't, but it's looking good. It's looking like there's a bit of depth to colour. I don't know if you can see that on camera. You probably can't. It's just a slight bit more kind of whitey, hazy thing going on this side, and a bit more of a kind of red thing going on. So if we just take our tape off, I'll put that back on because I'm going to do a comparison with the micro fine. Yeah, you can really see that actually, can't you? Well, I can. Problem with this camera. Oh, let's zoom the camera in. We'll get a better lens then, and you can see the line is there. It is. There it is. Let's try and get my finger out of the way so you can see what I'm talking about with an improvement of like colour and clarity as I go there. So it's just like tidied that surface up. It hasn't taken away those marks. So you need to cut on a machine to take out those swirls. But it's just improved quite a bit. The net result of going around a car and taking it from that to that is always good. It's always good. Yeah. I can see, I mean, I can't see on camera, like I'm looking on camera here and it's really hard to tell, but my eyes can see the line and the line is running along there, and it's just a bit whiter, and over here it's just a bit redder and nicer looking. So yeah, that would improve your car's paintwork. So let's now jump straight in to using the microfine. Really, I should swap pads, but I don't think there's enough material in that pad to cause a problem. So I'm just going to microfine it. Do the same thing. I guess the advantage with the microfine is really it's like an all-in-one, an AIO, and it saves you time. This system of using cleanser polish, going around polishing the entire car, waiting for it all to dry, buffing, then going back, putting on the paste wax or the liquid wax, waiting for it all to dry and buffing again, is the downside of this is it takes a long time. And almost, for me, the better bang for buck would be machine polishing with like compound and finishing polish or whatever. So I could do a more efficient thing where I cut with like S2 black and then I finish with Rupes Advanced or even, you know, microfine, and that second buff on the finish is undone. Yeah, another disadvantage generally with wax is you really do need to just take your time and do like a final buff as well. That's fine for guys in garages, but when I'm doing other cars, and especially after I've done paint correction, I often reach for something like that because it's so easy to buff. you know, or even a water-based one that you just sort of like lay out and buff immediately. So there are little subtle advantages and disadvantages. That's why I don't always reach for these particular protection products. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I use this polish like I've just done and put the double speed on like I'm gonna do, that panel will be well protected for 3 to 6 months, and it will bead like crazy for like a month, and then the hydrophobicity will dip down, you know, as you wash it, you know, just from the car being used and stuff. It dips down and it stays sort of beady, and then after sort of 3 months, there's a little bit going on. It's still there, but you feel like you want more, and that's where your kind of detail sprays and stuff come in, and modern products, you know, the spray and rinse products and all that, you know, touch on and all that sort of stuff. But really, it should be less about the beads and more about protecting a good finish, I think. So let's shake the hell out of this. This is a product I've really not explored much. You know, Bilt Hamber, I'm a big fan of their surfactants, their cleaning products, their decontamination products. I think they're the best on the market. You know, I really do. I think like Surfex HD, Touchless, Auto Wash, Corosol, their clay bar. It's all priced so well, and it's all just so functional and good. That's all the stuff I use. But the protection stuff in the Bilt Hamber line, I have a shelf, just before I tip that out. You know, I prefer the buff on the black hole. You could leave that for 10 days on the car and then buff it, and it still buffs like silk. And that's the difference between the triple. That does, after sort of a full cure, become a little bit harder to buff than the black hole. The black hole edges it for me over the triple, but they're both quite good. Rupes Advanced, I need to talk about that a lot more, because that's a really good product. You could argue it's very much like the Microfine, but just a bit more modern. But that's a good product that you can, you know, use on machine and correct stuff. All of these protection products, I think, are just really good. You've heard me talk about them. I don't use the can coat so much. I go for what I call soft protection, and it's not really a coating. You can use that a lot more informally. I should really try and use that a bit more. That is good on durability, but it just doesn't have that waxy shine that you get when you buff up a panel. But that's like a good option. That's all still kind of looking good for me. Some people are saying that it goes all funny, but that's been about a year now in here and it's been fine. That's one of my favourite sealants, really good buff. And then these two are just good water-based kind of sealants. So I tend to reach for those over this, but I'll always keep these products because I'll know they'll be good. And if I probably did like performance testing and like had a panel with haze all over it and started testing all these products, I'm sure these Bilt Hamber products, like Brian from Detailing World was saying that the cleanser polish is really, really good. I bet it is, yeah. I bet it is. I bet this is really good as well. It's very similar to this. It's got that waxy kind of feel. If you shake it properly, it's got it's not too runny, but it's not an emulsion. It's a sort of solvent thing. So let's now see what this can do on this side. And I'm expecting a kind of similar thing, and I'll put it on the trims as well. We'll get some on the trims. So I'm expecting this really, perhaps, maybe not to contain the same resins as the cleanser polish. Maybe it does. Definitely feels like there's wax in here. Let's do a similar thing. Spread it a little bit. Got a good amount on the trim there. There we go. So it's quite a solventy film, quite a wet film. You can see that wetness to it. Not wet in terms of water, but just wet in terms of kind of loose. So yeah, it doesn't feel like a cakey abrasive, and you can see here where I've just got it on the trims to see what that's like. This you would want to avoid putting on the trims because it is an abrasive, I think. So let's just take this cloth, because that other bit I was talking about, let's just get a little bit of cleanser fluid in the corner. So where we wiped it off this trim, you can see a little bit of shine there, which is probably some of the resins in it. So let's just get a bit of cleanser fluid on there and just clean that. Jesus. So what I want when that flashes is for it to be matte. Yeah, it has. That's removed it. So that's gone back to matte. So yeah, it's not too difficult to take off the trims, but we'll let those dry. I can already see this film is starting to dry now, which is good. I'm interested. I expect the results are probably going to be quite similar, but I'd like to think that microfine would do a bit more work than the polish, and that is really more like a resin waxy thing. I don't know. I'd love to know if there was some bespoke fine abrasives in there. I'd imagine there would be. Yeah, I'd like to know the difference a little bit more with these products, but I'm guessing this is a bit more abrasive, a bit more waxy, a bit more all-in-one-y, and this is more resiny, primary. Use it by hand, put a layer in of fine resin that sets and feels all that fine swirling. So is it a bit more permanent with the microfine? So that's what I want to know. Now, what's the cure time here? Working quarter. It just says allow the product to go to a haze before buffing to a high shine. So there's no guidelines on cure times. I suppose cure times could vary because of temperature. It is hazing up, so that's started to dry already. Yeah, it's still loose. I'm just wondering if I can buff now, or if I should give it 10 minutes or something. But I think it says dry to allow it to haze. So I think we're probably nearly there. Let's get some air on it. That accelerates the vaporization of the solvent with airflow over the surface, you know. That's really hazing up now, isn't it? Put too much dust everywhere. Yeah, it's really hazed up and white. So I think we're probably ready to buff there. How long has that been? A few minutes. So you could go longer, guys. Could go longer, but I think that will be fine. So let's take this cloth, and we'll take a clean pair of sides. We'll just do a little flip. This isn't a Bilt Hamber cloth. This is just a microfiber towel. So let's have a look at the staining on the trim. It's quite grippy. Now this is dried. And see, it's wiped the polish off, but left a little wet footprint. What is that? Is that wax material? So we'll get onto the cleanser fluid on that, because you can see a different coloration there. So let's buff this. So this film I can feel is a lot firmer. That means the film is probably tougher than the cleanser polish. So there's a waxy feel to this. You see, whenever you're dealing with wax, you have to be careful with little bits of it, because your cloth gets waxy. See, so you can just see that that waxy trail. That needs more buffing to get that really clear. That's one of the things with wax where you've got to be careful. So this would be harder work, this product to buff, but I think it's a good sign that it's toughening up. So let's just flip to a final side. So there's still little bits of wax and stuff on there. Look, I'm talking about. So you have to be very careful with these, and just spend a bit more time with your buffage, or else you can be in the garage, even with this workshop light, and think, yeah, that looks great. And you get outside and you walk around it in sunlight, and then you can see things that you might have missed. So you need to be a little bit careful, and see wherever you don't buff, it can be harder to see. But can you just see there's bits that I haven't buffed properly still. So yeah, you need to sort of kind of do your edges and then buff it. But that's a lot better. And I think probably now I'm going to struggle to tell the difference between both sides. Let's put the cloth down. Just get a little bit of tissue for my nails, the schnozzle. Let's have a look with the light. Have a look with the light. Yeah, so what I'm seeing there looks pretty good. Yeah, it's just that whiteness to that panel over on this side that you're probably not seeing on camera. And this side's got that pop now. Still got swirls. So really machining this with something like S20 would be a better thing to do technically, but yeah, I can't tell the difference between the two sides now. I would say that's still a little bit hazy. I'd give the clarity to the I'd give the clarity with my eyes, and you can't see what I'm seeing. I would give it to the cleanser polish side though. Might be a little bit of over work in there. So what I'm going to do now is cover that quarter in double speed paste wax. We'll come back. Okay, so we're going to put our wax over the top of the microfined section and the cleanser polish section. So this wax is very affordable, £16.95 for 250ml. That's really good price actually. It's quite a pale wax, a little bit of yellow to it, so there's some carnauba in there. I'd love to know what the wax blend of this is, what different waxes are in here. We've got the auto glim applicators, which is going to go great in that tin. Look at that. So we're just going to pick up a good amount of wax. Now this Bilt Hamber wax is not a show wax. It's a performance wax, if you like, that sets hard and cures hard. And if you put it on thick and you let it cure for ages, you're going to buff it, and the thick bits you're going to struggle to get back to buff all the thick bits back to a clear panel. So all the thin bits will come off, and then the bits that are trailed and thick are going to have little lines that are going to require more pressure and more buffing to get off. So spreading this wax is important. I think you can mist a little bit of water onto the applicator, which just can sometimes help with all that. Oh, just before we do, let's cleanser fluid that thing. Where's my cloth over here? Yeah, so let's just go back in. It's going to dirty the microfiber, but let's go with a fresh corner. Let's just cleanser fluid. This is where cleanser fluid is a useful product. It is more powerful than other water-based kind of, alcohol solvent panel wipes. It's useful for certain kinds of glue and stuff. And you can see it disappearing. Yeah, it's just taken, dissolved whatever that is in there and whatever was on the rubber, and just taken it off, and my trims are looking good again now. In fact, I might just cleanser fluid all of those just to get them. That's a nicer sort of consistent finish. Food for thought. It'll mess up my towel though. Right, let's go back with the wax. So you could also mask up with this, or what you could do is just come back, like when you're doing your leading edge, just come back like a millimetre on that bottom bit, find your wax line, and then you're less likely to go near those trims. So that's quite a thick amount of wax there. So let's just get some out. So the wax at the moment is loose. This is a thick layer. So I just want to work it a little bit. This applicator is brilliant. Yeah, so it's a pretty easy wax to lay out this, but you need to be mindful that it is going to cure. And it is going to cure hard. And that's a sign that you're going to get more protection. If you put a wax down and it stays oily and stays loose and stays translucent and doesn't give you a dry cure, then it can be a nice showy wax, but doesn't tend to bode well on the durability. And you can keep going with this. You see what it's, because we've got a good pickup there, we don't need to go and get any more wax. It's still putting wax out really nice. So yeah, these paste waxes last forever as well because of this. Probably could have a go at going around the entire car with this much. You can get your money's worth out of these. I'm going to struggle to get under there. I'd have to use a cloth. Let's put some on this rear light as well. So yeah, just a nice, hopefully not too thick film. Where we started, this is the area where it's going to be thicker. That's already going to be started to dry. But you can see there we've got a good layer, and we'll come back in and buff that off. But we will let that cure. We're going to give that like 10 minutes. I want that to be white. So we're going to buff it after it's cured to see how hard it is to buff. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay guys, we're back and we are ready to buff. This has had 10 minutes and you can see that when I was talking about thick, that's on thick on that edge and it's kind of dried now to a tough film. If I push hard, I can get through that, but it's tacked up now, it's cured. And there's a thinner film on the rest of the panel, which will probably be easier to buff. So we'll just show the buffage. Like when you get it over on the next panel, look, we've got a real thick line there. That's the sort of things you've got to be careful with. So we'll just buff that. We'll get that cloth in there and just get that bit of wax out. Get that edge on that card there. So we're good. We'll flip that side. Okay, let's buffer. So, you know, still the buff on this isn't a big deal. I can feel this bit is biting a little bit. You just want to make sure you get all in there. It's probably some old polish from before. Yeah, but I mean, buffing this wax isn't that big a deal. I think someone was saying in the comments, you know, it's a hard wax to buff. Well, relatively, perhaps it is. There's definitely softer waxes to buff, but I just want to kind of capture, you know, if I come back a little bit, what it's like and what it leaves behind. And it's not really that difficult actually. But I guess again, it's when you're doing an entire car. When you're doing an entire car, that you just got to spend your time. The danger is, I think, rushing. So this is definitely harder than applying a water-based kind of spray sealant, isn't it? You just spray on, spread to a film and buff, and there's no cure. And if you miss buff a bit, you might not see it because the film might, you know, it's less likely to, the high spot of film that you don't buff is probably going to be thinner and can almost be undetectable with some of those spray sealants. So these paste waxes generally, yes, you've just got to spend a little bit more time. And like, it's the dangers, like just knowing about the trims and stuff. And again, that's just really knowing what can go wrong with the method you're using and then using the tools, knowing that a bit of that hydrocarbon cleaner will just clear off the residue, or you can just wipe it, but you know, it will properly clear it. Now we've got some more film down here, and it's like, the risk is you could miss this little recessed edge and leave some wax. So almost think that one little change that we've seen with kind of detailing products is a move away from these products that require this kind of cure and buff. because of the speed and the sort of energy required to go around and do this on your car it's a little bit more intensive. But there is still nothing like spending that time to do it with your car. And yeah, that buffs to a really nice clean finish, but not perfect. So I'm just trying to show you, we haven't taken out these swell marks that you can see in the paintwork. That would, I mean, I'm not even sure they'd come out with compounding. You know, you wouldn't get flawless paint on this car. It's just not that type of car. And that's another reason I haven't really machine polished this as well. I'm just happy with the car when I take it out, it being like nice and glossy like that and red. You know, that's kind of good. I think if I did machine it all and got all these seal lines sorted and the car was really good shape, then I'd just be less reluctant. I'd be less reluctant to sort of hammer it around a track, as you've heard me talk about, and I'd cry every time I got a chip in it, and it would detract from what I bought this car for, which is to get involved, get my hands on the car, do things to the car, and just rag the hell out of this car. You can see the cage in the back. That's what this car is all about for me. But it's nice. I enjoy the fact that I don't have to worry about the finish being flawless, and I don't have to be too precious about it. And I'm just happy with the car when it's clean and shining and poppy. You know, the paint's popping even though it's got all these defects in it. I'm fine with that. We will probably attempt to improve some of that at some point. So yeah, this wax, let me just fold the towel. We're on our final 4 sides, so we're just going to go to our last pair of clean things. You would always, I think, when you've finished waxing the car, the whole car's done, I think you'd always maybe just grab a little bit of detail spray or just another clean cloth, a completely clean cloth, and just a quick kind of like this over the entire panel with no pressure, just to make sure you've got it all. So there's a lot of buffage to do, but then you get the results. Let's just conclude this video now. So if you're a guy at home that doesn't have a machine polisher, then a product like Auto Polish, is it called? Cleanser Polish, is a good way of improving the paint without having to, you know, it's not a buff-centric product that's reliant too much on abrasives. It's more like a resin, from what I can see, that's easy to buff, gives you a polished kind of feel to the paint, and very easy to buff. And then you could go around and that will give you the colour clarity back, reduce some of that fine hazing. It won't correct defects, no hand polish will. So you're going to be kind of increasing pop and clarity with this particular product. You would then go on and wax it. And I think if you've used the cleanser polish, I think you're probably going to use a protection product from the Bilt Hamber line, or you could use another paste wax. Then something like Double Speed would be the way to go, I think, because I think it's the most kind of noticeably performance protection product in the sense you'll get, this paintwork will bead like absolute crazy. I don't like doing this, but it's very hydrophobic, the Double Speed wax. It's very hydrophobic. I mean, all waxes will do this, but if you compare them on panels, the Double Speed is very beady, so you'll get that rapid kind of water expulsion thing going on. So yeah, great option. The Microfine, if you're not into all your abrasives and your cutting compounds and your finishing compounds and your ceramic coatings and your other forms of sealant and all that sort of stuff, if you're not into all that, and you wanted an AOI that's traditional kind of, I think it's wax based, don't quote me on that, resin and wax based and abrasives, whatever, then the Microfine is an option. It's an option that I don't often use. Like I say, it competes in my head with the Rupes Advance. The Rupes Advance for me has a silkier buff, and maybe, I haven't cross compared them, but maybe it might have more durability. I don't know. The Rupes Advanced, it's good on that front. So I still think that's my kind of go-to. Hit the car with a machine polisher and really brighten up the paint, let it cure off and silky buff. That's kind of my number one, I think, from all the ones I've seen. This, I've come to understand, is less abrasive and more like a waxy glaze, but that's got the best buff on the market, without a shadow of a doubt, for me. Fantastic product, that black hole. This I would keep, but it might be something that I don't use as often. I'd keep it because of the pedigree of the brand and the amount of their products that I use. I think it would just be one that you would have on the shelf as well, and you could potentially look to use it to, you know, increase that pop. And if you're going by machine, it may be a better product to use than the cleanser polish because of the abrasive nature of it. It's, from using it, it has a tougher film to buff as well. So I think, you know, that can do a bit of everything, a bit of protection, a bit of very light correction. That is more resinous, less abrasive, easier to buff by hand, easier to probably work as well. So perhaps, even though it's a hand product, that just perhaps whizzing over it by machine might be the way I would go with it. So yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of stuff. The general takeaway from this is there'll always be a place for these types of products, even though waxes and these pre-wax glazes and all the buffing is now less fashionable because we all want everything done quickly. We want the ease of use. We want rapid results, less time spent on the car. Well, I don't always want that. I really enjoy what we've just done there. I enjoy doing on cars, and I enjoy it. And yeah, I swear this rear quarter was looking redder. Well, it is. We know it is from that tape line before and after. So that would give me pop and protection all over my car, which is what I'm trying to achieve today. So we'll end that video there. Interestingly though, I think I'm going to machine the roof. I'm either going to machine it with S40 because I want to take out some very fine misting in the finish of this. Probably where it's got a factory polished finish. It's been sanded. So it's not a bad finish, but it's just not a finished finish, like a real top quality finish. So I'm going to paint that off, and I'll probably do S40 on that. Or I might do the Rupes Advanced, who knows, I could microfine it. I'm going to do something with this glass as well, you see all that? So I'm going to have a go at getting that out with a rayon pad and some glass cutting compound. I think I'm going to use the 3D with the rayon pad. We'll cover all this up, protect it all. I'm doing it the wrong way around really, should have done that first. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. So I'll put all these products in the description. Let me know your thoughts if you use them. I think they're performance orientated, old school kind of beautification and protection products is the way I would describe them. Take care, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I when